You're watching the Eternal Tournament Series.
Hello and welcome back, everyone, to round 5 of the Eternal Tournament Series. This is our 5th weekly of Season 3. I am once again joined by my wonderful co-caster, Truedawn, and we are about to jump into our round 5 matchup of Aladyyn on Acaria Blue versus Grumpyolman on Aladyyn Midrange.
And this should be a pretty interesting matchup. It's kind of prototypical, like control versus mid-range. Although Grumpyolman's Aladyyn mid-range build is slightly a lot more aggressive. There's 4 Dawnwalkers, 4 False Prince, Cersos, Sandstorm Titans, Stormlinks. He will be able to get out ahead, or at least try to, and we will see if the Aladyyn's Acaria Blue deck can keep pace and blunt that aggression.
Yeah, I like the backlash and the hunting Terriax and Grumpyolman, hoping to catch people off a little bit with the one of inclusions. He also has 2 crystallizes to break up port stalls, recognizing that is an important function of his deck. Aladyyn, on the other hand, playing Acaria Blue. From my point of view, this looks like a mostly standard Acaria Blue list. I'm not seeing anything too crazy here.
Yep, it's the 2 obliterates are something that some people play. It's functionally a removable spell in this deck, also gives you some reach. 2 Staff of Stories still, even though it did take a hit, it has 1 less durability in the new patch. You still need that card. You still need the inevitability it provides. You still need to try and protect it. And this deck does have Throne Wardens that can give it additional armor to kind of mitigate that muff. We do see the player starting here, moving into game 1.
Yeah, absolutely. And Aladyyn with a little bit of an awkward hand here at the start. He doesn't immediately have double primal for that Wisdom of the Elders, so he's not going to be able to get his card draw on turn 3. And Lightning Storm is a card that is very, very mismatched in this game particularly.
And this False Prince is going to get at least a hit, and he's probably going to spend this turn Wisdoming, and then even next turn is Rise to the Challenge. So Aladdyn's going to be under a lot of pressure, and it's not clear that he currently has the tools to deal with it.
Yeah, we could see a Sandstorm Titan come down here out of Grumpyolman, but instead just another False Prince. And yeah, if Aladyyn is going to have to rise on this turn, Valkyrie Enforcer not really a great answer here. So yeah, it's likely we'll see a rise from Aladyyn, and this will put him down to 10 after just a few short turns. And I mean, this is the power of the Aladyyn mid-range deck, and this wasn't even the super aggressive start that people often think about, where you play turn 1 Initiate into turn 2 False Prince. I mean, this was just a False Prince played naturally on turn 3, and it's already created such a fast clock that Aladyyn, it looks like he's considering, just putting this Valkyrie Enforcer on the board to block.
I'm not even sure what this gets him, though, because he can't trade with anything. They have Overwhelm, so it's still like, are you just soaking 3 damage with this? I guess he is. But I think I would have liked to see a rise to the challenge that turn for Orc Runehammer, which actually gives you something to deal with these. But right now, he's just essentially dead.
Yeah, and he's probably going to have to actually fire off this Obliterate at the False Prince here, although it removes the same amount of damage as Lightning Storm here. You probably do Obliterate, though, because you can weave in the Lightning Storm a little bit easier. Yeah, exactly. So we'll probably see the Obliterate come down on the False Prince. But yeah, I mean, he's still going down to 3 no matter how you cut it this turn.
Yeah, and if Grumpyolman has any follow-up and Aladyyn doesn't draw a Harsh Roll, he just doesn't have his interaction just didn't light up, and this is the problem with control decks in general in Acaria Blue, is they have to run specific interaction. That Torch off the top helps a lot. Now he can Lightning Storm and Torch a False Prince. He's only going to be facing down 5 damage, then he can Obliterate the False Prince, but he got pretty lucky there to rip that.
Yeah, that was a very lucky torch for him to pick up there. He really needed that one. And we'll see if Grumpyolman has anything to reload with. I mean, yeah, even a 4/4 Copper Conduit here is pretty good. It at least still creates this 2-turn clock, and Aladyyn is going to have to put this Obliterate into the False Prince. I mean, he picks up a torch, which actually, yeah, he can use the torch that way, and then next turn he'll be able to Obliterate the Copper Conduit. But it really comes down to what Grumpyolman has with as a follow-up for his next turn. We've seen him miss power for a few turns now.
This rise is also very interesting. He's going to choose the Orc Runehammer here, but there was a lot of options there. He could have gotten Throne Warden. Akaria also blocks his 4/4 if he's anticipating no follow-up, so he could also turn the quarter at the same time. Orc Hammer is the most conservative option. It leaves him living the highest percentage of the time. So it is going to be able to deal with one of these, and then he's going to go to 1. So he's not dead, but he's just like right on the razor's edge.
Yeah, if Grumpy Old Man has an obelisk here, he actually has the game, but it looks like he doesn't based on that very fast attack. But a Cerso is pretty good, and that will fetch up the Dawnwalker. Yeah, exactly. This I think is too much for Aladyyn to deal with. He had to find Harsh Rule here, and he doesn't, unfortunately. So that will be Grumpy Old Man taking game 1 off of Aladyyn here.
Yeah, and the Elysian deck is just, all of their threats are so potent. Like, the entire deck is just full of must-answer threats, like Sandstorm Titan, Cerso, False Prince, Dawnwalker, Copper Conduit, Scouting Party. Like, just such a threat-dense deck that if your answers on the control side don't line up, you're just going to get run over.
Yeah, it's a deck that demands a lot of answers, certainly. We'll go ahead and take a look at how Aladyyn wants to sideboard. Yeah, definitely seeing Swords of Akaria coming out here. Feel like we'll probably see some amount of backlashes come out as well, since the Elysian deck really doesn't play that many spells. It's mainly just very on-curve, aggressive, overstated units.
Yeah, I would expect the Vanquishes to come in on the side of Aladyyn, Throne Wardens as well. Outside of that, Eye of Winter, also a possible option against everything that isn't Sandstorm Titan. Ruins, you can maybe bring in for Zenith Obelisks. Those are going to matter. You're very weak to Scouting Party, but that's siding out a lot. We'll see if he's able to find enough cards to bring out. As you said, the sort of cards are bad. I don't love Valkyrie Enforcer in this matchup either. But outside of that, I'm not sure. You're probably taking out card draw at that point, but then you're kind of messing up what your deck does.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what Grumpy Old Man decides to bring in. He's definitely got a couple of interesting choices here. I like the Copper Conduit. Backlash is okay, but it's not fantastic. Well, it can actually be pretty good. Like, backlashing a Harsh Rule is very, very, like, that's a huge swing, but it's not super reliable. I'm curious to see if maybe something like the Ephemeral Wisp will come in to try and, like, soak weapons, but really, I think, honestly, Grumpy Old Man's game plan seemed to work out very well that game.
Yeah, you don't want to slow down your deck too much. I do like the Hunting Terriacs, actually. They're very good for Harsh Rule. I think you could side in the Backlash and Hunting Terriacs and build your deck in such a way where you get like 1 or 2 creatures in play and then just leave up mana. And if they Harsh Rule, you can either counter with Backlash or follow up with Hunting Terriacs. That's an interesting game plan you can go down. But we'll see as the game proceeds, or as we see it proceed in game 2, whether or not Grumpy Old Man decide to do that or another game plan.
Yeah, absolutely. And Aladyyn here with a very awkward start. He does have the ability to play Torch on 1, but he's very power light and having no primal influence. It's going to be unlikely he's going to be able to cast his Wisdom anytime soon. See him go ahead and torching the Initiate.
Just to tag that, but the Primal Source there is good, but that's only step 1 of a few. He needs either a second Primal for this Wisdom or another power for this Orc Runehammer. And we do see the Ephemeral Wisp come down, so we did decide to bring them in. I guess if you're bringing in against anything, you're bringing them in against a control matchup where they can keep coming back, invalidating a lot of removal, and actually becoming threats once Zenith Obelisk comes into play.
Yeah, it makes it harder for the Akaria Blue deck to use weapons as a strategy. It can't really turn into an armory-style deck. Those weapons become confined to just removal. And wow, Backlash.
That's aggressive.
Here, no, I honestly think that's a fantastic Backlash, I have to say.
It's very aggressive. If Grumpy Old Man has pressure here to follow up, that it makes sense. But like there's so many more important cards. Like, yeah, you can maybe choke Aladyyn off on mana, like deprive him of a critical card density. But it's such an aggressive Backlash. I don't hate it, but it can definitely go backfire on him in a lot of scenarios.
Yeah, it definitely can backfire, but we definitely see Grumpy Old Man's hand light on interaction. So I think a wise choice here from him to go ahead and try and stifle some of the card draw of Aladyyn. And we see Aladyyn, we see him picking up that Throne Warden. And, you know, Aladyyn did get very fortunate here to curve out almost perfectly into his power. He just rolled straight along to it. Did pick up an Inspire along the way, but regardless... we do see this Ephemeral Wisp keep getting recurred, but Grumpy Old Man's going to need something else. And a Rhine Arc is a good start.
Yeah, anything bigger than these weapons is a big deal, and the Reinhardt is bigger than all of the weapons except for the Sword of the Sky King, which is a long ways off. So he will get to Valkyrie this Wisp and kill it forever, but this Reinhardt right now, it actually can't attack because of the 4/4 and the 3/3, but Aladyyn can't kill it either.
Interesting. He decides to push in here regardless, likely going to take care of the Throne Warden first, and in fact does. Let's see what Grumpyolman's follow-up is. Dawnwalker and an Initiate of the Sand, so nothing too exciting. Ooh, and a Permafrost from Aladyyn, going to be able to lock that Dawnwalker down. That does mean that his weapons are going to be pretty much off a line as far as going towards the face for quite a while.
Yeah, it's always awkward in the armory decks splashing blue that you have. Permafrost is one of the better removal spells you can run in Primal, but it's a pretty big nombo with all of your weapons because you're going to have to attack through that eventually. And 7/7 Copper Conduit is pretty big, and at this point in the game, Aladyyn can't deal with it.
Yeah, he is having a very hard time figuring out how to deal with this board. And now that the 7/7 Copper Conduit is down, this is going to be really tough. There's really just not a lot going on here.
Yeah, he needs to get up to that Sword of the Sky King pretty fast, or even to the Ikaria to start attacking back. But if he's taking 7 next turn, and if he doesn't rip another power, he's going down to 2, unless he wants to jump block.
Yeah, this is becoming very, very threatening. Aladyyn definitely going to need to find an undepleted power or two.
Whoa,
really.
See? There's the Hunting Teriak. That's a bunch of damage.
And wow, the second obelisk, it's not quite lethal. It puts him down to 1, but I mean, that's as good as lethal anyway. There's really no way without Aladyyn having picked up Harsh Rule here for him to have come back into this one. And we even see the Stormlinks coming down for just cute little show.
Yeah, and that Hunting Teriax was huge. That Hunting Teriax is so exceptional against control decks because you get to play at instant speed on your turn, not show your hand, and just burst so much damage. You see the power of that card there in that matchup.
Yeah, it was a very powerful card there, taking care of him quite quickly. And it's hard to say much, but really that Elysian mid-range deck just making very quick work of the Ikaria blue deck that Aladyyn brought. The Ikaria blue deck having a little bit of problem getting to enough power down and getting to its bigger weapons, but still, I mean, Elysian midrange just absolutely enacting its game plan the way it wants to, getting down some early threats and just putting a lot of pressure with high damage units onto your opponent.
Yeah, and we do have a backup match for you guys between Sorlix and LordOfWaffles. Sorlix is on Armory, and LordOfWaffles is on Felm Control. It will join the game in progress, and it looks like a pretty stable board for both players. So it's anyone's game at this point.
Yeah, this is a very interesting position. Notably, though, LordOfWaffles has a recurring nightmare, and Sorlix actually doesn't have any way to answer it immediately. He's going to need to find some sort of torch to deal with it. But actually, in the meantime, yeah, Sorlix, wow, if it wasn't for LordOfWaffles having both of these lightning strikes, that was a lethal attack being presented there. And this puts Sorlix in a much, much worse situation now that we see LordOfWaffles capitalize on that.
And I was actually wondering why the recurring nightmare didn't come down last turn, and I didn't look at the life total before I thought that, and that would be the reason. He was vulnerable to large weapons, but now that the big Stone Scar Maul is gone, I think maybe because since you bluffing anything doesn't matter, he's going to go for lethal if he has it. So I think you need to start making forward progress with this recurring nightmare to actually present a threat that Armory just can't deal with.
I think you actually do need to. I think you need to utilize this Death Strike here, and I actually kind of like this push out of Waffles here with the Death Strike. I think he recognizes that one of the key ways he's going to lose this matchup is something like a die show coming down, and had he played the recurring nightmare here, he would have lost to the die show cleaning up the unit and 10 damage coming his way. But LordOfWaffles trying to stabilize with this Black Sky Harbinger, and he's going to be able to do it reasonably well, and due to the Steward of the Past having silenced off all of the units in the yard, there's really not a lot of great options here for the Smuggler stash as far as units are concerned.
Yeah. Still getting back to Stone Scar Maul is the big one, but Lord of Waffles is going to be able to present enough creatures to at least survive the Stone Scar Maul. He will be able to attack here with the Black Sky Harbinger because Sorlix elected to not kill it. And we'll see which one of his cards he can play this turn. He's kind of limited to one, although he could play Steward of the Past and Recurring Nightmare on this turn.
Yeah, and I don't exactly hate the Steward of the Past Recurring Nightmare. It definitely put some damage down, but yeah, I kind of had a feeling we were going to see this come down instead. See both the Black Sky Harbingers trying to gain some life and present a lethal clock against Sorlix, and we do see a big Stone Scar Maul coming down on the way back.
And now he's Lord of Waffles is under a lot of pressure. He knows about the second Maul because Sorlix played the new one, so he needs to be able to kill that, put enough toughness, which he does have, and probably start ticking up this Recurring Nightmare. Yeah, and we'll see both those coming down.
Yeah, although he does just put the Recurring Nightmare down, sequencing a little bit unfortunate there for him. Would have been able to have the Recurring Nightmare up to 2 this turn, which, you know, is pretty relevant. The clock can be very relevant in this situation, and now instead the Recurring Nightmare is just sitting out on the board. Would have been an easy target for the Sword of the Sky King, although Black Sky Harbinger, more of a concern for Sorlix in this case. Vara, very important, though. I was waiting for him to get this Vara online because Vara will allow him to grab a Black Sky Harbinger back if necessary.
Yeah, it will die to the Sword of Sky King, so that will be the last recursion he gets, but it's a lot of life that he's going to gain here from the Black Sky Harbinger and the damage that the Vara is soaking. He's going to be able to keep ticking up this Recurring Nightmare. So Lord of Waffles is actually a pretty reasonable spot. Sorlix can rip off a bunch of weapons that are relevant, but he's kind of on the back foot. I think Harsh Rule is the main way he gets back in the game, but then the Recurring Nightmare is still a problem.
Yeah, Recurring Nightmare will be a problem, although honestly, Lord of Waffles has his own problem in that since the Sword of the Sky King didn't go away, he's going to have to use the Recurring Nightmare to bust it this turn, and we see Sorlix has plenty of weapons to reload with that won't die to the Recurring Nightmare immediately. Could very easily get the Stone Scar Maul down next turn and push in some damage.
Yeah, we see Waffles throwing the Staff of Stories essentially just for life. He knows about the Stone Scar Maul. He has to block with the Steward here to kill the 6/6. You know, the Maul will come down, deal 6 to him, but the Recurring Nightmare can't kill it. And this is where he's going to get punished for not being more aggressive with the Recurring Nightmare and accidentally doing it post combat last turn, because it would be 8 damage this turn, but instead it's only 4, and that's not enough.
No, it's really not. And if it had been 8 damage this turn, the 16 next turn would be lethal. Almost assuredly. Yeah, even through the weapon, it would be lethal. So, yeah, we might see, unfortunately, Lord of Waffles get punished a little bit here for missequencing that Recurring Nightmare. Sorlix looking if he can generate anything else to help provide a clock that he can, drop this turn. Sword of the Sky King next turn, if he can get it down, will provide a bunch of armor. So,
yeah, either getting the Maul or the Sky King is just, it's probably going to be too much for Waffles to overcome to play the Copper Hall also. So yeah, this Recurring Nightmare being 1 turn behind is going to end up being the difference in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Lord of the Waffle is going to need something big and not finding it. So he's going to attack in here with the Recurring Nightmare, hoping that he can get away with this game. But we obviously know, as well as he does, that Sword of the Sky King is going to come down.
He can actually play a post combat, and then he has to take 16 to the face, but that's still 1 short, even or 2 short actually with the Sword of the Sky King. Vanquish just makes it trivial, so we'll see the dice show come down.
Yeah, and with the Vanquish, that will close it out. Who was leading in this series, Truedawn?
Actually, I think was that game. Sorlix was up. Yeah, Sorlix was up 1-0.
Yeah, Sorlix is up 1-0. So Sorlix ends up taking the series 2-0. And, not too surprising there. Armory has a very hard time actually beating, Film Control has a hard time beating Armory. since weapons are often very hard with the Felon Control deck to deal with. They're very good at handling units, but not as much relic weapons.
Yeah, weapons are definitely the Achilles heel of any Felon Control deck. Recurring Nightmare does help that a lot when you're able to tick it up early, but as we saw there, he's just one turn short of being able to not only keep all of the weapons in check, but also present lethal to his opponent.
Yeah, just unfortunate there that he missequenced with that Recurring Nightmare. A little bit of a misplay. He can go ahead and check the tapes on that later and see if he could have gotten out there, because I honestly think the damage was there for him to kill his opponent. His opponent would have been a little less in HP as well by 1 or 2, whatever it would have been. But yeah, just unfortunate missequencing there, kind of costing LordOfWaffles the game.
Yeah, and it's always unfortunate to be in a spot where you can win against one of your worst matchups, make a small mistake, and then having that end up costing you. But it's something you have to just get past in these tournaments, move on to the next round, move on to the next game, and hopefully have success later.
Yeah, very important that you mentioned that. It is important as a card game player to, have the mental toughness, the mental fortitude to be able to bounce back from tough losses. Definitely when you feel as though, maybe there was something more you could have done, but a slight misplay, just cost you the match. So we'll have to hope that he can bounce back from that. We were about to jump into a backup match, but I do believe our backup match unfortunately just finished. Yeah, it looks like Red World taking a series 2-1 over Catalyst. So yeah, unfortunately no backup match, guys, or yeah, no backup match. I think that was already our second backup match. But yeah, before we go real quick, I would just like to give a quick little plug to aReNGeeternal.com. So yeah, aReNGeeternal.com. That is RNGETERENAL.com. You can find a whole bunch of wonderful Eternal goodness on that site. We got daily articles written by some of the best players in the game: Loco Pojo, Neon Blonde, Lights Out Ace. We got some scrub lords like aReNGee and Rekenner who make the list. They also write, their articles are fantastic though. I'm just teasing, of course. We got ranked and stock tier lists on there, so you can find out what the meta is looking like for the last couple weeks. You can also find some stock list. That way you can, you hear of a deck that we mention, like Felon Control Armory, you can pop on there and get a generic idea of what it looks like. You can, take a build and then tune it to your liking. We got the draft pick order list, of course. We also have tournament information, which is super important for, obviously, everybody playing in the tournament and all of our viewers out there who want to get involved in the action in the coming weeks. Season 3 Invitational is on April 1st and 2nd, so important to note for all of you out there who are hoping to qualify. The last chance qualifier for that is on March 26th, so go ahead and mark that in your calendar. That should be the Sunday after the 7th weekly. Check out the aReNGee Eternal streaming network as well. We got awesome content on there. We got Lights Out Ace killing it on Sundays and Wednesdays. We got Miller Tool on Mondays, and of course I myself take care of the Thursday slot. Sorry for everybody who missed me this week. I was sick, as I'm sure you all can still kind of tell. And of course, on Saturday, we always have the Eternal Tournament series. And you can always check out all the wonderful Eternal Tournament goodness that we provide you all. And yeah, so go ahead and check out our website. And also, if you are loving the stream, go ahead and hit that follow button on Twitch for us. We really do appreciate all the love and support you guys show us.
Yep,
and
certainly.
Yep. Yeah. It's sorry to cut you off, Truedawn. I think that is going to be all for round 5. We are going to go ahead and take a small break while the round finishes out, and then we will bring you all round 6 before the top 8.